I'm about to do a very long DIY for you. A lot of mistakes were made because this is the first time I've ever created anything like this. So, and because of the fact that I was making a recording of it and the materials and time I had, I didn't have time to practice. This is the only one. This was the dry run. This was it. And it's based off of a demo I don't even have a link for anymore. I just watched it a couple of times like a year ago, memorized it, and I've just been kind of hanging on to this thought ever since, going, I'm going to make that. Other issues, my microphone broke, and so there's a lot of improvisation through it. No worries, I've already replaced the microphone, so for our next video, that shouldn't be an issue. Oh my goodness. So yeah, on top of everything else, I've had sound issues. This has been a very tough one. In fact, I wanted to give up at one point, and I was asking myself, why do you do this to yourself? Well, I do it for you. I do it so you can see how I created this. So I'm going to hand you off to Amy of the past so that she can show you how to create Audrey II. And the monster I'm going to build is that famous mean green mother from outer space who terrorized Rick Moranis and Ellen Green at Little Shop of Horrors. I am making Audrey II out of this white pumpkin, this plunger, and a lot of green stuff. This is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of steps, and I'm going to do my best to show you all of the materials as you need them. But as you can see, there's a lot here. The steps we're going to take in order to make this is first we're going to start the base of Audrey's head using the pumpkin, getting the colors done, getting her pot set up, and plunger is her neck. Other things of note when you're picking out your greens, you're going to want vines, you're going to want lots of different things because we're making an outer space monster. But for the inside of the tongue, you're going to want something that has a nice long branch like this. So keep your eye out when you're looking for your greens that has something nice and stiff, because that's going to be important. Other things you're going to need: super glue, hot glue gun. Not everything is here because there's so many supplies that are needed for this. Other things of note: air dry clay. You know, you can do Model Magic. This is the sculpty version of Model Magic. 2 pieces of felt, spray paint, and acrylic paint. I don't have my acrylic paint out. There's no point to me having it out yet. Colors of spray paint you're going to want to get. I don't even have all of mine yet. Green, red, yellow, white, pink. You can do a couple extra, an extra green if you want to, but you don't have to. Well, that's everything, so let's get started. Okay, so all we need for now is our pumpkin, and I'm going to mark the top here along the seam to about 3/4 of the way, and I'm going to remove this part, and I'm going to make the mouth right here. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. Alright, so I got that marked off about where I want it. I'm eyeballing it, so I don't really know. Now we're going to get a knife and we're going to start cutting our pumpkin. Ooh, makes a nice little slash right there. Almost there. So now I'm just kind of shaving away and shaping it a little bit with my knife here. I want it to have a nice wide opening because I'm going to be spraying inside as well as the outside. And as you can see, there's already kind of a mouth forming. Hello. So we've got to that point where I have to go out and spray paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be spray painting the head. The inside I'm going to spray paint red, and then the outside I'm going to be spraying green and white. And this plunger you want to spray paint with your dark green and then just put that to the side to dry. And when that's all done, I will come back and see where we're at. Got to do a little touch up, but as you can see, I did white, and then I did yellow, then I did kind of a sage green, and then I did this dark green. This will be our head, and we're now going to put the lips on it. And the other thing I'm going to show you how to do this evening is how to start the tongue, because everything's going to be, you know, a little bit in process. So to do the lips, we are going to need air dry clay. You can use Model Magic. This is Sculpty Air Dry. I personally like this brand. I think it's more economically friendly. And one bamboo skewer, and that's because these lips have lots of, like, you know, little lines in them, so we're going to use that to make little imprints. And I'll show you how when we get to that point. But it's time to put lips on our monster. And here's where my microphone starts to break, but I don't know that yet. I'm about to find out. Excellent, so there it is. So the lips are on. Demo of making lines on lips with skewer. You can use any part of the skewer. You can make fat lines, thin lines. The big thing is just to make lots of texture. You can also use the skewer to add details and make sure that all of your creases and the clay is in place. So the lips are done. I think they look fabulous. I have an 18-inch ruler here, which I'm going to put into the monster's mouth, and I'm going to measure from the back of his head to his lips is just under 1 foot. I need him to have stiff wire in the middle of him, so I'm going to snip the stem off of this plant, which I will use the leaves from, make the center of his tongue. Now I want to see how long that is. Okay, that's 15 inches, so that's more than enough. We're gonna cut it off at about 13 and a half. For this part, you're going to need wire cutters, a marker, and a couple pieces of white felt, and something to make the middle with. You will also need a hot glue gun, glue sticks, and something to stuff the tongue with. You can use nitrate gloves or a shopping bag or paper, anything you have around you can use as stuffing. All right, so now we're gonna start by cutting this. I'm just gonna double check my measurement here because I don't wanna cut too much off. Okay, so if I cut it at this first little marker here, that was difficult. There's a lot of wires in here. Okay, so I'm going to put my greens to the side. So I want you to see how wide the mouth is. The mouth is 10 inches across. So there it is. Now we're going to keep all this white felt and just put it to the side for now, because later on when we make Audrey's teeth, we're going to want that. Alright, so let me trim this up just a little bit. Just going to clean it up a tad, and then I'm going to grab my hot glue gun and my glue sticks, and we will start. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. So we're going to now start on the tongue, and to start the tongue, we are heating up our glue gun. Let's see if we got it hot yet. Okay. And we're going to glue the center of the tongue. Now, I have removed the extra wires. There was a few extra wires that made and that's why it was so hard to cut. But once I got those out of the way, and I removed some of the plastic. Now, the reason for this is because we are going to hook this to another wire that we're going to run through the underside right here of the pumpkin when the time comes. I'm going to have to probably drill a little hole or something. Okay, so in the meantime, we're going to glue this lovely floral stem in the middle of our tongue. And this is just to give it some support, like, you know, the cartilage down the middle. Okay, and we're just gluing this to one side. We're not gluing it to the other side because we still want to be able to stuff this thing. So that's going to be the bottom of our tongue. Now this is our top, and we're literally just going to glue it on top like that. So now we're going to glue the edges of this. So there it is. Now I have a hot pink spray paint to go over this tongue, but like with the pumpkin and the plunger, I'm gonna have to do that off camera because for the same reason. I just don't have any place here I can do it and demonstrate. This is all glued together. Now we're gonna let this dry. Right now we're at let everything dry. Yay! Tomorrow I'm going to take this outside and spray paint the initial coat on it. I'll bring it in and we'll paint the details on it and stuff it. And then we'll put it to the side because we're not going to need it for a bit. And we'll start painting the lips. So far I think that if this continues to go on this pattern, we're going to be in really good shape. The tongue, this I'm not happy with because right now, I'm going to just test it. Right now the tongue, and I haven't stuffed it yet, fits. It does fit. But it's awfully big. So I think I'm going to make it a little bit more narrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away the edges and then I'm going to re-glue them in place. The lips have been drying now for about 36 hours. They're still ever so slightly damp, but we've had a lot of rain lately, so I'm thinking that's probably why. What we're doing next, I'm going to get a variety of paints for both the outside of Audrey's head and for her tongue, but we're not dealing with her lips because they're not dry yet. If you're going to spray paint your plunger, paint the head of it with regular acrylic paint because as I've learned the hard way, if you use spray paint, it doesn't dry, it's just sticky and it doesn't fully dry on the rubber. You're going to need to use a different kind of paint. So lesson learned by me, so you don't make that mistake, just use acrylic paint. Alright, well let me get my paints ready and we'll get started. I think we're going to do the tongue first, get that out of the way, and then we'll move on to the vegetables. And I don't have any dark purple today, so I'm pulling out the paints I have. I've got various pinks and reds, got some blue, got a little bit of white. Figured the white I could use to, you know, lighten up some of the pink if I need to. My dark purple paint missing was an issue because my first action here is to paint dark purple all over this tongue because Audrey's tongue is dark purples and blues and pinks, and I'm trying to make all of those colors come out, and I need to make sure that I get all of the edges covered because we don't want to see the white either. For the rest of the video I used two paint brushes, one fine tip and one flathead large. Finally getting to the end there, boys. So now we're just going to add some of that hot pink. And if I pulled out the white just in case we needed to make a lighter pink, but I think that this hot pink does it. There it is. Our tongue. Ta-da! Alright, first thing I'm going to do before I get really into this is I'm just going to run a real quick coat of acrylic paint over the top of this, and hopefully that will seal it off so it isn't sticky anymore. Fingers crossed. We don't know. So I'm going to take my dark green paint and I'm going to just like paint lines. Audrey II, as a monster, she kind of looks like a big old cabbage. I mean, really, she does. Adding the lines in will give shadow effects. Okay. I guess that's the end of that paint. I'm just kind of testing out colors and whatnot. So here I'm alternating between light and dark colors in an effort to push and pull the shadows and highlights to give as much depth and texture and character as I can to our vegetable friend here. I'm using red here to darken up my green into a nice sage since we lost that paint earlier, and I think I actually like this color I made better. It's got a nice earthy tone. Should add some nice character to our plant here. Okay, now we're on a roll here. So what I have done is I added light colors, and then I added dark colors, and then I added light colors. And now we're going to put a little bit of detail in here. This is starting to look fantastic. Look at that. I'm going to keep adding until this looks the way I want it. And I'm going to actually just about to call it done. Alright, we have finally got to that exciting point. The lips are dry enough for us to paint them. Okay, so I'm going to paint them all dark red. And then I'm going to add some pinks and yellows, oranges, just to bring out some highlights and add some more color and shadow highlights, you know. Because there's a lot of fun marks and cracks that I really want to pull out. My lovely assistant will sit over right here.
Hey, here I am.
Lovely
I
assistant.
can see my head.
Okay, lovely assistant. So we're in the assembly phase for this. We're going to start by drilling a hole right in the back of this. This is so we will have a place for our tongue to attach, because we're going to have a big floppy tongue hanging out of its mouth. So we're going to drill a hole right here, which we're going to feed a wire through, and that's where the tongue is going to be attached. Other materials you're going to need for this part is hot glue gun, hot glue, Gorilla Glue. My Gorilla Glue is, I don't know what happened to my new container of Gorilla Glue. This one has been broken into and abused. So I'm going to use a skewer to spread this on my plunger before I put it down. I have already prepared, this is just random buckets of dry floral foam. I have that pressed in there really good, so once we put Audrey in there, we have to do it in one, like, real strong,
Stabbing motion.
and it has to go down once, and that's it. You got one shot at this. Because if you screw this up, it'll be loose, it'll fall over, it won't work. So right in the center, we're going to just drill a single hole. That's it. So our next part is actually going to be that we're going to glue the plunger down. Now this is where I learned something last night, really stupid important, because if you have it too far back, it won't support the head properly. What you really want to do is make sure that you have it very centered. It's going to go about here, and then after I'm done with this, we're going to throw out this Gorilla Glue. Alright, so I'm just going to put a little thin layer of this Gorilla Super Glue onto the plunger. Oops. And then I'm going to make sure that I press it down exactly where I want it. Alright, so I want it right about there. We'll come back and fill it in with hot glue. All right, now that's not gonna go anywhere. We're just gonna fill it in with hot glue just to fill in the gaps and whatnot. And we'll come right back for the next step. So now we're gonna just take our glue gun and glue just for extra support. And none of this matters because we're gonna cover all this up with greenery. Hi, Bella.
She wanted to see what was going on.
Pull set some wire. This is 18 gauge wire. Project just takes so much material. I'll do my best to have a list in the description, but I'm trying to just tell you as I go what we're using. Now, you don't have to buy 18 gauge wire. If you can find, you know, some viney plant or something at Michael's or whatever your local craft store is. Good floral wire, use that if you can. Otherwise, 18 gauge will work just fine. So we're gonna take our 18 gauge wire and we're gonna stick it right through that little hole that we made, and it's gonna come out the mouth. We're gonna hook the wire I had you guys leave out. What I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna kind of make a loop with it. It's in a bed. There we go. Okay.
Excellent.
We're going to take the wire that we pushed through and we're going to literally just wrap it so that it's nice and secure. So here it is. We've got a lovely knot in our wire and we're just gonna pull this back, and in doing so we'll pull the tongue into the head.
Bah.
Come on, get in there. All right, now that tongue's in there. We're gonna pull it down and we're gonna wrap it around our plunger. There he is. What do you think?
Billy bit.
I mean, he's gonna lean. There's no way we're gonna have him not leaning some way or another.
Yeah.
The whole point of the plunger is to make him bouncy. I'm gonna stick it straight in the middle in one foul swoop, and like I said, this worked last night for me, so it should work again. Okay, go, and push. Okay, so there she is, all assembled, ta-da! I hope you did not throw away that white felt, because you're gonna need the scraps right now. To make the teeth, you just want to cut little triangles out of your white felt. Now it's time to do dental work on a plant. Glue the teeth in just behind the lips. Right there we go, look at that. Monster vine. This is a close-up on how I attached the vine to the bucket. I wanted you guys to see how I fastened it. Building off of the vine, you can add your initial foliage. The more foliage you add, the more straight her head will be overall. And since it's on a plunger, you really don't have to worry about it, no matter how silly it looks. The wire in the back actually can help you with this. If you grab a pair of pliers and give it a couple of twists, it should straighten out a bit. Other things to note is you can just glue pieces of vines directly to her head to make her look more exotic. I used all sorts of different foliage to make this, including ferns and purples and all different kinds of greens. I was trying to use the foliage to make the entire thing come together. In the end, this is really just some very fancy flower arranging. Turn you around so we can see. We're about 75% of the way through. My floppy-headed friend here. I'm gonna add a little bit pink to the tongue, and I'm gonna fill all of this in, and we will finish this video up as I drop this finished critter off at Mom's house on Sunday. There she is. Ta-da! Look at that beautiful smile. Hi, Joey.
Hello.
Okay, so Audrey is coming out of the car. We're getting her ready. She's gotten a little crushed, so we're gonna have to fluff her back up, but she'll be okay. All right.
Sarah's coming too.
Oh, hi Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
No, that's
Hi,
Dad.
Mikey.
Okay.
We present to you Audrey II.
Oh, boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it an indoor thing or an outdoor thing?